Title: The Weight of Standing Tall. It was a frigid Monday morning in the city of Glenford, the kind of morning that made you question every life choice that led you to walk out the door without an extra layer. The courthouse loomed ahead like an ancient beast of brick and granite, its stained glass windows casting jagged streaks of amber across the steps. Inside, the courtroom pulsed with a dense mix of apprehension, curiosity, and barely concealed boredom. The murmurs of the gathered crowd, lawyers, witnesses, families, onlookers rose and fell like waves crashing against the solemn walls. The large oak doors at the back creaked open. A uniformed officer entered, his voice projecting with ceremonial authority. "All rise for the Honorable Judge Mary Ann Holcroft." The scraping of wood against tile followed as nearly everyone in the room pushed themselves up. Papers shuffled, shoes squeaked, and even the flicker of breath seemed to hold its place. All but one man remained motionless. In the third row, centered precisely in the aisle's path, sat a man in a black wheelchair. He was dressed in a navy blue suit, his lap neatly covered with a woolen charcoal blanket. His hands, large and steady, rested on the rims of the wheels. His name was Elijah Carter. As Judge Holcroft ascended the bench, her eyes scanned the courtroom, taking in the familiar chaos of another morning's docket. But when she noticed the man who remained seated, her eyes narrowed. "Excuse me, sir," she said sharply, cutting through the room's residual noise. "Why are you still seated? I said everyone must stand when I enter." Heads turned. A few gasps echoed. Most avoided eye contact, wary of the tension that had landed like a weight across the room. Elijah looked up calmly, his voice even and respectful. "Your Honor, I mean no disrespect. I am physically unable to stand." Holcroft straightened, her judicial robe rippling as she leaned forward slightly. "This court does not tolerate disrespect," she stated, her tone icy. "If you do not rise, you are making a deliberate choice, and that choice has consequences." The atmosphere turned brittle. No one dared breathe too loudly. And yet, Elijah Carter did not flinch. He did not raise his voice. He did not shrink. He merely nodded once and repeated, "With all due respect, if I could stand, I would." The woman seated beside him stood then. She was in her early 30s, with sharp eyes and a clipped stride that carried conviction with every step. Her name was Andrea Glenn, a civil rights attorney known for tackling the cases most others hesitated to touch. "Your Honor," she said calmly, "my client, Mr. Elijah Carter, is a medically diagnosed paraplegic. He has been paralyzed from the waist down for nearly 7 years. I have the documentation to submit." Holcroft raised one hand. "I will review the evidence shortly," she said stiffly. "But I expect all individuals in my courtroom to show the same respect as anyone else. If I find deception—" "There is no deception," Andrea interrupted, her voice clipped but respectful. "The documents include X-rays, neurological reports, military discharge papers, and character statements." Holcroft's eyes flicked to the bailiff, who stepped forward to retrieve the folder Andrea handed over. The judge opened it slowly and began to scan the contents, page by page. As her eyes moved, her brow twitched ever so slightly. Meanwhile, Elijah remained still. Then, without being asked, he spoke. "I was 21 when I was first deployed," he began quietly. "Served 2 tours in Afghanistan. My second year, I carried a soldier on my back for 2 miles through sniper fire. I made it out. He didn't. I came home with scars no one could see until the night someone ran a red light and hit my car. My spine shattered. So did part of me." The courtroom was silent again, but this time with reverence. "I learned to live again," he continued. "To teach again. I work with kids who've lost their way or never had one to begin with. I didn't come here today for pity. I came here because someone falsely accused me, and I trusted this court to treat me with dignity, not doubt." Andrea stood a little taller beside him. "Your Honor, this case should have been dismissed the moment the security footage was submitted. It clearly shows Mr. Carter rolling past the accuser's property, never once engaging her. She was the one who hurled threats at him, not the other way around." Holcroft read further. She turned to the footage, which had been queued up by the clerk and now played silently on the overhead monitor. The image was grainy but clear enough. Elijah, slowly maneuvering down the sidewalk in front of a beige bungalow. A woman stormed out of the house, screaming profanities, gesturing wildly. He didn't stop. He didn't even turn his head. After several long moments, Judge Hallcroft exhaled and set the folder aside. "Mr. Carter," she said, her voice no longer sharp, "I was wrong." A ripple of motion swept through the room as everyone leaned in, stunned by the sudden reversal in tone. "I made a judgment before I had the full truth," she continued. "And for that, I offer you a sincere apology. Let this courtroom be reminded that justice cannot be served through assumptions or pride. It must be grounded in truth and humility." She stood, this time not by mandate but by choice. "Thank you for your service, Mr. Carter," she said. "And thank you for your courage both then and now." Slowly, others in the courtroom began to rise. First a man in the back row, then a mother with a toddler, then a police officer. Eventually, nearly every person in the room stood not out of protocol, but in tribute. Even the court officers joined in, clapping softly at first, then with growing warmth. Andrea turned, eyes shimmering, and whispered, "You did it, Elijah." But Elijah shook his head. "I didn't do anything except tell the truth." The judge cleared her throat, now visibly moved. "This court finds Mr. Elijah Carter not guilty on all counts. The surveillance footage and medical documentation support his testimony entirely. The accusations made against him are without merit and, frankly, disgraceful. This case is hereby dismissed." Applause erupted again as Andrea placed a hand on Elijah's shoulder. Outside, the press waited with cameras and mics. Andrea shielded him from the flashes, but Elijah raised one hand. "I'm not interested in headlines," he said. "I'd rather speak with the ones who matter." He turned toward a group of teenagers standing off to the side, his former students. One of them, a gangly 15-year-old named Mateo, approached. "Mr. Carter," he asked nervously, "how come you never get angry? Even when people treat you like you're less?" Elijah smiled gently. "Because being angry burns bridges, but being honest builds them. I believe truth always finds its way even if you can't walk to meet it." Those words spread like wildfire. News outlets replayed them. Social media turned them into hashtags. But Elijah didn't care for the noise. Later that night, back in his apartment lined with books and family photos, Elijah rolled to his window. Rain pattered gently against the glass. He thought of that rainy night, the crash, the pain, the hospital, the despair. He thought of the courtroom, of being seen. And finally, he whispered to the quiet air, "I stood today